Guten Tag, meine Damen und Herren. Heute ist Karat, aber wir sind talking about the FWA. Sorry. This is Nuffink and Like It, the FWA TV podcast. Also, I'd like to apologise for the delay in getting this episode to you. Some things are just more important than a silly podcast about silly wrestling. However, I am Kieran Lefort, and I'm here to have fun talking about this month's Frontier Wrestling shenanigans. Joining me as always, back once again with his ill behaviour, Andy Ogden. Andy, how you doing?
Not so bad. I've got a new kitchen and a new bathroom, so I'm like a pig in shit. 30 years in the making has been this kitchen and bathroom. And the next time I'll have it done is when I'm like 70. So thank you, Rochdale Council.
30 years in the making. It was designed in 1994. And give it up for the man who won't betray you, Eddie Slideburns. Eddie, how are you?
4-0 in Wrestling on Cage match. Just ignore the boxing match that's on there. That doesn't count, brother. Yeah, I'm doing fine. I watched these shows quite recently. They are in my mind. I'm ready to go, baby.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So before we get rolling, I found two very interesting things. Firstly, the show most of the matches we're going to talk about on this episode were from FWA Trick or Treat on October the 26th, 2001 at Broxbourne Civic Hall. It was promoted by Mark Strong Style Tapes Petar and his partner Tara. And if you heard the name Mark Petar before, that's because he's the man who almost got Frontiers of Honor shut down because he was selling bootleg ROH tapes under the table with Ring of Honor management standing 10 feet away from him after specifically being told not to. Tara was apparently so excited about promoting a wrestling show, she set up a website about it. I will read you verbatim all the text on that page. This page is dedicated to all the hard work Mark and I put into the Frontier Wrestling Alliance, the British wrestling group that we promote, sell merchandise for/of, and are associated with in all. On Friday, October 26, 2001, Mark and I promoted and sponsored, spelt wrong, our first FWA show held in the Broxbourne Civic Centre, which is 10 minutes from our house. Out of 400 seats in-house, we had 360 tickets accounted for. We had sold out, but some people who had called and had ticket reserved didn't show up, so their loss. We paid £750 for the usage of the hall, so we more than broke even with the ticket sales. That was the tidbit I found interesting.
Nice.
And made a further £2,500 at our merchandise stand.
Fucking hell.
Below
What the fuck are they selling?
They're selling tapes, bootleg tapes. That was what he did. He was a tape trader. Below are some photos that Mark took during the event, as he is also the FWA's photographer, was he? And has been published in WOW, UK version, and Power Slam wrestling magazines. There are a few photos of me in there, as well as Mark's sister, Stephanie, working as one of Alex Shane's, in inverted commas, bitches. Alex is one of our main guys and is the host of TalkSport Radio on Saturday nights doing a wrestling show where he always promotes our tape business. Also is a link to a page with lots of raves and reviews that people have posted on message boards and in emails sent to Mark since the show. More on that in a second. We already have booked our second show at the same hall for Friday, February the 1st, 2002, called Crunch 2002. We were going to name it a Valentine themed show, but as we weren't sure of the date, we gave it a more generic name so we could go on and print tickets to sell at the Trick or Treat show. So there we go. That's
right. Hold on. That's not a website. You're reading from somebody's diary at this point.
Hey, do you remember? You might be too young. Do you remember like shitty web hosters like tripod.com and
yeah,
yeah? This is a tripod page, and this is what she set up. So there's broken links to photos all over the place, and then a link that says what the fans are saying about Trick or Treat, which I imagine is the link to the page with lots of raves and reviews. I clicked on that one, and it's blank. Apart from one single unattributed line at the top that says, major thumbs up to the FWA show last night. Everything just gelled to become what will become known as a turning point in the company's history. Kudos to everyone involved.
I was thinking then we might get like a word cloud, what we get nowadays, with like, the ones that people said most, well, probably about Brit Wrestling 2000. Shite. Overly long.
It just felt like you were reading from like a British version of like that CM Punk live blog that he used to do, wherever it
was. Not far off. This is what we had before we had Twitter.
But from like a promoter standpoint of view, we paid this and we got this money instead.
I thought it was very interesting that she just blabbed about how much the hall cost. That really intrigued me.
In British days, someone would really have undercut that at that point. Then, all right. Okay.
Well, if to be honest, Kieran, if I know some promoters nowadays, I get astounded just finding out the venue cost them $0.
So the other thing I found out, I don't know how relevant it is anymore, as she's gone from our screens. I found out Victoria de Montfort's real name. She was played by an actress called Nikki Thompson, and other than her name, I can't find out anything else about her.
Oh,
she just doesn't exist on the internet.
No, that's not fair.
There was apparently an interview with her in the September 25th, 2001 issue of the Daily Mirror. The archive I can find for the Daily Mirror online only goes up to 1999. So if anybody has a September 25th, 2001 issue of the Daily Mirror, get us a scan.
Probably fell off the face of Google search like Dino Scarlo.
I think she named the kid after herself so that like that one gets famous and nobody bothers her.
Yeah.
So we need to talk some telly. Frontier Wrestling, episode 17, taped October 26th, 2001 at Trick or Treat at Broxbourne Civic Hall, aired February the 11th, 2002. Another 30 minutes of action-packed wrestling action, says Mark Priest. I do like action in my wrestling action. We go straight into our first match, Johnny Storm versus George Castano. And I say George because for this one episode only, Mark Priest has stopped calling him Jorge or Jorge. He just calls him George. It's a lot of like holiday camp comedy to start off with Castano climbing the ropes to get a break on a lock-up, and then Storm just simply walks away and lets him fall on his face. There is the weakest shoulder block I've ever seen as George stops running a step early and Johnny just limply leans into him so they make contact.
I don't know if you felt here, Kieran, at the start that you'd had trouble distinguishing which one's which.
Yeah.
Because they both had long hair and similar pants.
Yeah, it's two short blokes with long greasy hair.
The only way I think you could tell which one was which was when they would take off the straps of their gear.
Yeah.
And then if they both took off the straps and were put in front of each other, you'd have no idea which one is which. I want to also talk about the fact that this show started off with after the jaundice intro, started off with the crowd chanting deportation at the Columbia.
Yes, they did.
Oh my God.
That is not the worst thing we hear across this run of shows.
Oh no.
And talking about the crowd as well, Eddie, there was a goateed man in a purple shirt. Now, I've got to mention for our fashion segment that I used to wear when I first started work at my first main job, like a black shirt with a purple tie, and the other way around, a purple shirt with a black tie.
Looking like a bingo MC.
Yeah. And I would get the name like Prince of Darkness sort of thing. And that sort of name, Prince, stopped as my like dating profile for years on end on like Bumble, Match, all the lot, Plenty of Fish.
It sounds like you dress like the Undertaker, like to go out for dinner.
Yeah, the Undertaker in a logistics office. Brilliant stuff.
So our small greasy haired men botch a head scissors and do a cliched indie standoff sequence before George rolls outside and Storm flattens him with what Mark Priest calls a twisting shop off the top. And I was like, did he throw a newsagent at him?
We need to also just quickly go back to, and again, Eddie's ref watch here. They do the flashy stuff on their pins. And he goes, one, and then Mark Priest keeps saying 1 count. The fucking ref hasn't even gone the mat to count the 1. And he's like, 1 count, another 1 count. It's like, no one's counted unless he shouted it like it's some World of Sport where he's like going to go 1 and just throw the 1 up. It makes no sense.
I do enjoy Angry Ref Watch.
And I think Jorge barely catches him when Johnny does the twist.
Yeah.
I think the twist just comes in over. He's like, ah.
Yeah. So Castano gets thrown down the stairs of the bleachers, sending 12-year-olds scattering. And then they go to the other side of the room, and George gets flung upside down into a barricade propped against the stage. Something we didn't mention last time, this is the debut of the big wooden block FWA letters that will be around for years after this. They go back into the ring where Johnny hits a flying head scissors, but George counters a second one into a backbreaker, and I notice his gear has fallen apart. Like his straps that Eddie mentioned have just broken. George catches the middle rope moonsault, which was quite impressive, actually, given he's not a big bloke. But Storm flips out of whatever the counter was going to be and drops him nads first on the ropes before drop kicking him off to the floor, where George avoids a baseball slide and smashes Johnny and the railings with a tope. George has a couple of 2 counts. Storm slips out of a slam and hits a Michinoku driver but misses a top rope moonsault. George comes back with a middle rope exploder. Storm gets a near fall off a sky high, and then they botch the super rewind Hurricane Rana for Johnny to get the pin. It's more of a backflip with a hair pull. Like his legs don't come anywhere near his head.
There were just moments where it was, I think, because the Michinoku driver was a cracking one, and I think the Castano dive was quite good. The fact that Mark Priest went on about like how the textbook was written wrongly because he missed the textbook moonsault, and then he talks about Castano being an evil man, and he keeps using all these words and then talking about Castano and money. The botch in the finish was just, they tried. I mean, I think it depends on the person.
I think we've had the 2 good ones. I think we're going to see a lot of these miss. We're going to see more miss than we do hit.
Sorry, Eddie.
When he's with a reliable worker alongside him, it'll be fine. When he's not with a reliable worker, it's going to be shit. And just also, speaking of the man who just recently retired, Sting, there's parts where his gear, Johnny's gear, looks as Sting-esque just without the makeup and with that long hair. And I was like, is he gonna? If it was Halloween, is he trying to like? Is he gonna like come dressed up as the fucking Crow or something at this point?
A little Romford Sting. It's showtime, baby.
I was going to say myself. There was a couple of parts in this match. Like early on, there was one where Jorge, I'll call him Jorge,
go on then.
not understanding the head scissors takeover, but then 5 minutes later, finally managing to pull one off. I was like, well done on you, lad. Pretty much learning there. And just an aesthetic thing. Lots more writing on the ring skirts, investment in the company.
Also, I like the camera guys and the refs guys' shirts. I like the FWA at the back. You know, it's got the FW at the back of it, and it's like, they say like imitation is the sincere, something like that, or
I didn't
like
notice that at all. And when I worked there, I just had to wear merch.
Yeah, I think they were wearing merch because the refs were also wearing the same shirt, which kind of was a bit weird when you were on the outside. Obviously, the camera was the only thing that was showing which one was not a ref and which one was, unless the camera guy's got like strapped his chest going, what? Oh.
Eddie, did you notice during this match as well? I think it most noticeable over these episodes where FWA fan cam was seen to be used quite a lot. More than it only used to be like 1 or 2 shots. This, fuck me, it was overload. I was getting annoyed.
I think it's starting to get used to kind of cover up certain things that they're maybe not wanting to show.
That was part of the point of it to start with, was like, you know, if people are botching things badly, you can go to an audience shot on fan cam. If none of your cameras happen to be in focus at that time, you can go to fan cam wobbling its way around the barrier. I also noticed the pace of the editing has picked up like crazy over these episodes. There would be things like a suplex with 2 cuts in it and that kind of thing. And I remember like when I first went along to the Star Search thing, I was sent over to LSR after I mentioned I did filming, and he sat me down in front of an episode and they said, come back and critique it when you've watched that. And the first thing I said is, you cut that shit way too fast.
there's one of the spots more down the line that I'm pretty sure I put this is Kevin Dunn-esque type of editing.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are you doing this? Like, there was a spot or something happens and it was just really bad. There's also a bit where the fan cam looks like someone's been smoking in front of it because it just looks so smoky as fuck. I got it's down the line, but I was like, Jesus wept. And yeah, I mean, I gave this 3. I mean, the problem is the Castanos seem to have no memory, or seem to have a memory of what the match is going to be, and then during the match forget, and then somehow have to get pulled along with whoever's in the ring with them to kind of put out something semi decent. Because if you look at every match we've seen of them,
Yeah.
they're fucking Bambi in the headlights at some points.
We're not done with them yet this week.
Oh, and I gave it a 3. I thought it wasn't that bad. The finish was just really botched. But again, as I said, you're going to get some people who are going to do it well, and you're going to get some people who are going to do it shit.
I think my final line on this was early ropiness ended up being all right, thanks to Johnny, 1.75.
I think I'm more with Andy on this one. So
That's fine. I'll stay my ground.
Brandon Thomas and Ian De Silva are in the ring, and somebody has given them a microphone.
Why?
Yep. Okay. So my next note is Thomas is fucking dreadful, and you can barely understand him. De Silva does a Drew McDonald impression that's not even as good as mine, and then Priest buries them for being shit.
Utter shite.
Drew's music hits, and he comes out surrounded by smoke and bathed in red light.
What looked more scary here? Drew coming out or that big fuck off scream mask in the background?
Yeah.
Ghostface looking on as Drew McDonald appears. Fucking great image.
He's trying to look menacing, but this plastic mask is just peeking over his shoulder. And the even better is this aired in February.
But also, do not let any of these two near a microphone at all. My fuck, they were all, Ian De Silva sounded like he was eating marbles. He was that bad.
Yes.
I couldn't understand a word these fuckers were saying, and I'm like, what are you trying to do? And then also, I was mainly distracted by the fucking guy with the suit who's too big enough for him.
Yeah. The ring announcer in his dad's suit.
He just keeps anytime something happens, he's like wandering about, and I'm like, what are you doing here?
Oh, Eddie's fired up this month. I love it. So Drew gets possession of the microphone and he growls in. I couldn't understand him. He growls in Caledonian. He calls he calls Brandon and Ian new school garbage. I understood that.
If you fucking ever put subtitles for me when I'm angry and just put fucking Caledonian garble anger,
it's like that famous gif cries in Spanish.
Yeah, but it's like, so he argues with the crowd, and I've put down here in Scottish actual text, Drew's working with the crowd, can he hear a fucking word that's being said?
Referee Tony Giles teleports into the ring, no bell rings, and the Shindy boys run at Drew with clotheslines, so I guess this is a match?
Well, we wouldn't know because it goes to commercial break right fucking away.
Yeah. So Drew kills him with a double clothesline and flings Thomas over the top rope as we cut to the break. This must have been really bad, as when we come back, Drew's music is playing, Ian and Brandon are hanging in trees of woe, and we have a picture-in-picture replay of what went on during the break, which is mostly Drew killing De Silva with a stunner and a powerbomb. Then he gives them a double choke slam that Ian appears to take on his head, and we never see a pinfall. So, Drew won, question mark?
Yeah.
Retro cram? Oh, that's new. I like that. Picture.
Yep.
First time they ever used that as well. Fucking overload with these cameras.
Yeah.
I think at the end as well, Drew just doesn't even need a microphone. He just shouts.
Yeah. He gets the mic again. He yells about Nazarene gods again. The mic then shits the bed, so he's forced to just yell the old school are here to stay at the Broxbourne crowd. Priest hollers about how Drew is the Romans looking to crucify the saviours of British wrestling, the FWA, and Dino Scarlo is Pontius Pilate. I don't know what this was. This felt very, very ECW. This felt like Paul Heyman and Ron Brazese and whether the other guy was, like
911.
Yeah.
911.
Yeah,
didn't
this
it?
was rescuing a bad segment in the edit. Pretend they all got beaten up during the break. Here's the highlights.
Here's the highlights. His music is playing. Don't worry.
Yeah,
You
don't
didn't
worry
see
about it.
anything. We'll show you in the picture the tiniest way
Yeah.
to see the good bits. But that's about it.
We get our first ad for frontierwrestling.com.
A new advert!
That domain is currently for sale for £2,754.
Hey, let's rope in.
Alex, top notch cost there, mate.
Let's start the Patreon. We get a quick recap of Jody Fleisch getting whacked by Dino's cricket bat to cause him to lose to the new breed last week. And then Adam South interviews Fleisch and Scott Parker. Talking of people who should not be given a microphone.
Oh, God.
Well, these two lads, terrible.
One thing I did also want to quickly say, just going quickly back to the advert, right? I do love how I could tell what I could date the year of when this was by looking at the state of that forum. So I was like, "Yep, I've seen that before. That's in Vision Free."
One of the screenshots is of the UKFF, isn't it, where the FWA had their own dedicated board. Yeah.
Oh God, these two though. Get them off.
So Parker also does a Drew impression and says he's already
Kieran,
Yes.
Kieran. I did put on this Scott Parker with a worse Drew impression than Kieran.
Yay!
So you're better than him. mate.
I'm very glad to be king of the Drew McDonald impressions, and I'm also very glad he's dead, so he can't beat me up for doing them. And Eddie's too far away. Parker says he's already pinned Drew after driving him through a table, and we get a little replay of that picture-in-picture in the corner, and then the post-match. But Drew and a certain someone decided to take their petty revenge on him with a cricket bat. He hands over to Jody, who could... Oh, dude, Joni loves Chachi. Jody, who continues the certain someone line as one single person chants for Jody to shut the hell up. These are the baby faces. Jody says, fucking hell, this person is going to get their ass kicked faster than they can say, hey, that's my Zimmer frame, please take it back out of my ass. He then finally names Dino Scarlo, which must have been the cue for Ralph to hit Dino's music. Dino takes his time getting into the ring, his music stops, and then he yells, stop the music.
I've put down this is mainly to Pop Andy, but I've I'm thinking about it. Dino Scarlo looks like a cross of Wayne Mardle and John Park.
Yeah.
Very much like he does that. Anytime I look at Dino Scarlo, I'm like, darts player. It's also very funny when he says stop the music after it's been stopped for at least a good 5-10 seconds.
Yes. So Jody says he's going to be a gentleman and let the fat old bastard say what he's got to say, and gives him the mic. The fans at the very least have gone from telling him to shut up to chanting for him. Dino discards the mic, saying that one of these is for a show and he's not here for a show. He says, I'll leave the talking to the Samaritans and we'll say one thing and one thing only, you peasants and mugs. And we then can't hear what that one thing is because the crowd are chanting over him and Priest is talking over him. Should have just kept hold of the mic instead of trying to be a smart ass, shouldn't you?
If he wants to be heard, he has to get the mic, but he threw it away.
Yeah.
Fucking daft.
I did feel this was like some like Shakespearean show. Like, here I am, Dino Scarlo, in the middle of the ring.
He's trying to play like the cultured gangster character. You know, like the guy who murders people and does awful things, but listens to classical music and thinks he's intelligent, and it's like that sort of
Ray Winston.
Yes, he's trying to be a Ray Winston character. In fact, when was Sexy Beast?
Sexy Beast would have been
maybe after this.
Probably. It should have been that far away from it. Sexy Beast was in. Let me have a quick check. 2000. So it was after.
Yeah,
so
there
this
we
was
go.
after.
Yeah, so popular at this time are Snatch, Lock, Stock, Sexy Beast. Like, this is what he's trying to do. He starts screaming at Parker, do you accept his challenge? Do you accept the new school challenge? School is for learning. Look and learn. Then we cut to the aisle, and out walks the king of old school, Steve Carino.
Yay.
So I have a note from Deep Throat number 1, our official Insider FWA correspondent, who says, we got Steve Carino, the current NWA heavyweight champion, to face Scott Parker in the main event. Carino was secured a couple of weeks before the show, but we kept it a surprise because we'd already sold out. Carino was over to defend his title for Hammerlock, where he worked the night before in tracksuit bottoms. Andre wasn't happy about it, or him turning up for us. Carino was 28 at this point, which demonstrates...
No, that's a lie. That's a lie.
That's a proper Pennsylvanian paper round, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Is that on the Ian De Silva age line of, like, you know...
Don't forget, his gimmick in ECW was he was the young guy who thought he was old school.
Yeah.
And ECW has only folded like 6-8 months before this. So yeah, he says Carino was 28 at this point, which illustrates just how young everyone else was. He defended the NWA World Heavyweight title the night before and lost, resulting in the belt being held up rather than him dropping it to Gary Steele for reasons. It turned out, though, that the belt had already been declared vacant 2 weeks earlier, but they kept them so Hammerlock could have a title defense. Carino, thankfully, does want to use the microphone. He abuses the crowd and berates Parker and Fleisch. He says, God strike me down because the wrestling industry is in a lot of trouble if these two are new school. He spends a lot of time telling the crowd he's a better talker than them. He says, you can give me any lip in Japanese, Mexican, Spanish, Puerto Rican or American and I'll outdo you any day of the week. He says Fleisch and Parker are what's wrong with wrestling, that wrestling used to be magical and respected, but they're ruining it with all their flips. He says the FWA didn't want to bring him in, but he paid his own flight because he wanted to slap Parker's face and kick the crap out of Jody. Old school fans respected the sport of professional wrestling, not gymnastics, to Jody, and then turns to Parker and goes, and not whatever the hell it is you do either.
Way to bury the product there.
Yeah.
I don't watch it.
He name drops Dusty, Just Incredible, Tommy Dreamer and Sandman as people he's been beaten up by and come back to beat up. He asks if the British lads have the balls to do the same and finally lays down the challenge to Parker. I wrote, Carino wasn't especially good here, but boy did he rescue this disaster.
Yes.
Yeah, he's very, like, I think he's a fucking mark because they try and put him over because he's like, oh, he paid for his own way to be here and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, Steve Carino would not be like that at all. But the way they're obviously trying to portray it is like he's a fucking mark and he'd pay himself to be here. And he, as usual, and as we see when Steve Carino's here, he fucking loves calling guys girlfriends of guys.
There is a lot of homophobic language that we are dancing around in various points.
Yeah, there's a bit where I'm just like, there's more bits where I'm just like, this is just, it's typical of obviously he's trying to be edgy and stuff, but I'm just like,
it was unfortunately the humor at the time.
I think for myself, when he did turn up, I was like, thank God. He's like, let the real talkers do it, lads.
Yeah.
The real wrestlers are here now. He was just such a breath of fresh air for me on this show. Like,
other than
talking and lovely stuff.
Other than Shane, I think he is probably one of the most polished talkers that's come on to the shows we've seen.
And honestly, Shane's not on his level. If you listen to Alex Shane rush through his promos, like he's not on Carino's level. Like the Americans from the territories can talk. Like, you have to be able to talk. You've got to be able to talk people into the building, even in 2001.
Like, even Nunzio had, like, even though he had a small bit, and again, another more troubling promo he cut as well. I mean, but I think if we look at the Brit guys that we've seen, the FWA guys we've seen so far, I think probably it's Shane and everyone else. I mean, Doug hasn't cut a proper promo.
And he can't.
We've not seen Doug for a while.
No. He's not
Johnny
on this
just
show.
sounds like he's on helium.
Doug isn't on this show because he was out in the US for King of Indies this weekend.
Okay.
A show that will end up being very important when it comes to pro wrestling and independent pro wrestling in the US. This episode, it was a bit shit. We only got one so-so match and then a lot of lame talking. But we're establishing the new school. I just wish the new school were less shit. And Carino came over like a massive star compared to everyone else.
Yeah. He looked different, obviously. Of course, he knew he could actually, cut a promo compared to everyone else on here who has passed intermediate 1 drama school or whatever. I love that, by the way, there was a name I saw in the credits. I love the name Barry Shadalambus. I was like, oh, what a name.
We talked about him before.
I know, I just remembered. I was like, what a name.
It's a proper entertainer's name, isn't it, Eddie?
Yeah.
Like, live in Blackpool, Barry Shadalambus.
It's like he would come out and he would start singing. Is this the way to Amarillo? And it was like Shadalambus. You're like, what a worker! It'd be like you'd be fucking like ready to go.
That was in fact that was in fact his real name. He is on the list of credits because he was the promoter of the Harrow shows. If you notice, Ruddiman's Hotel was also listed. His family owned that hotel, and that's where they would put up guys for free / massive discount when they got imports in. He also would be the person who edited the 2005 season of FWA TV after I left. And he was the British wrestling manager. Oh, he was also the promoter of SAS Wrestling when that was around. And was the manager Charming Don Charles on the British Indies in the 2000s. He was a busy boy. We'll talk more about him in future episodes, I think. So,
Kieran, just to let you know about Ruddiman's Hotel in Harrow, it's now a Best Western Plus called Grimsdyke Hotel. Rated 4.3 on Google.
I think they've got more than one then, because the one I knew him having was near Paddington, I think.
Right.
Yeah, that's the one I visited one. We just had to pull up outside and drop something or somebody off, I think. But yeah, I've been to the Shadalambus family hotel. Episode 18 aired February 18th, 2002. Recap of the show clothing segment from last week. And then Mark Sloan with James Ty against Raja Ghosh. I've got a question, one for each of you. I'm going to start with my question for Eddie, and I basically want you to be a human coin flip.
Okay.
Please choose for me, then or now.
No.
Andy, how old do you think Raja Ghosh is now?
36.
He's 39, which makes him 17 years and 2 months old here. Yeah.
I'll tell you something. He's clearly put like all the baby oil on and clearly wet his hair with this when you see him in this bit. Because he's like, the first thing I put about him was like, Raja Ghosh, man looks slick and wet.
Yep. Yep. This is legitimately his 4th ever match. He did one non-televised match on the first taping, a match for Scott Conway's promotion TWA, one FWA Academy show, and then this. So, the editing around the opening titles means Mark Sloan makes his entrance twice, and then he gets verbally abused by a pair of 8-year-olds as he's about to get in the ring. It's heel teacher versus babyface student. So Ghosh is from the FWA Academy school. We will see more of him as time goes on. He becomes a proper member of the FWA roster. We're not even going to see the one segment his brother Rishi is in, but I might get you to watch it anyway because it's brilliant.
Rishi's the one who still wrestles today.
Rishi still wrestles. Raj does not wrestle anymore. Raj is a Labour councillor for Portsmouth.
The Labour.
There you go. So, heel teacher versus babyface student. So it's all Sloan poking eyes and pulling hair, and Raj getting a couple of like fiery babyface, flippy athletic hope spots. Like there's a twisting sunset flip out of the corner and a nice drop kick. Priest is no fan of the ref. I don't know who this referee was, but the commentary did not like him.
Clueless, useless. I remember this. I think it was it O'Hare?
Oh no, O'Hare is a different ref who turns up on the next show.
He was useless. They're all useless, though. I'm getting really annoyed at them.
Yeah. Raj hits a springboard something that had 2 cuts put in it, so I don't know what it was, but it didn't look like it needed rescuing in the edit. He takes out both Sloan and Ty with a plunger, but Ty grabs his foot as he goes for another springboard, allowing Sloan to kick him midair, hit something resembling the angel's wings, and pin him with press-ups on his face. Absolutely nothing to write home about, but mechanically fine. Like, nobody botched anything, and for a 17-year-old in his 4th match, Raj didn't look bad.
I think I had 5 lines here, which is very short for my for note taking. There was I mentioned a Divas hair toss by Sloan twice. I did put Raja Ghosh is a good-looking lad with his dark boy band curtains, which was a style in the early 2000s. I used to work with a lad who had the old boy band curtains going on. You know, the old bowl.
Hey, I did for a long time. When teenage Kieran looked quite a bit like that, just not as shiny.
You know what? Looking on in Jesse, I was in 2024.
You sport a lovely velvet head these days, though.
Yeah, like you say, it was a fine match.
It was a match.
Not going any higher than two stars at best. At least it's better than that first match we watched on the first episode.
I think Mark Sloan matches are just boring at certain points. I just don't find any. I don't care because I kind of know the outlay of what's in essence going to happen. Whether you know, and Mark Priest is telling a story which I like. Raja Ghosh looks good. Yeah, it was all right. You know, there's a cracking drop kick from Ghosh, which I thought was really good. There was a moment where Sloan hits him with a water bottle, but really it just all goes towards the marks in the front of the row.
That was the entire point. So he took the lid off it, and you'll notice he aims it very carefully when he bashes Raj on the head, so it shoots. So the water all shoots out over the front row. Yeah.
The kick in the never region, shouldn't that be a DQ? It's right in front of the referee. Raja Ghosh good, Mark Sloan meh, and James Ty can't properly hold up Rishi Ghosh as they kidnap him to the back.
Yes, I did notice they kidnap him. We get a recap of the Alex Shane Guy Thunder feud. We see Shane winning their match in Portsmouth, Guy submitting Mr. Blonde, and then the in-ring challenge from a couple of weeks ago. All I need is my fist and your face to be the last man standing.
All I could think to this promo was just one more.
All right,
just needed a moment in it. You just needed a moment where they're back to back and then they've hit each other. The man they turn around and look.
Yeah, instead of Deborah McMichael, it's Victoria de Monster.
Well, let's check out their melody. It is Alex Shane versus Guy Thunder, Last Man Standing. We get the best explanation of Last Man Standing rules I've ever heard from the ring announcer. He says the rules are simple. If a man is down on the mat and can't answer the referee's 10 count, he loses. Perfect. You don't need 3 pages of rules. That's it. We catch referee Andrew Coyne jogging out in front of Shane's crew because apparently he's missed his cue. Thunder comes out after the break, supposedly the babyface, but people are throwing their trash at him. They both go for their finishes early, so Thunder slips out of the one night stand and Shane avoids a spear, but he's too busy posing to the crowd and he eats a second attempt and then gets up at 4 because nobody sells a Schamberg spear on these shows.
These just, I've put down, like, they're just going too fast. It's like they've been given
Shane way.
Yeah, it's like they've been given, like, 15 minutes to begin with, and then some producer comes into the back and goes, 12, 8. No, it's 6 now. There's like no heat in this supposed to be last man standing.
Yeah.
And then it's like spear. These guys people are throwing stuff at them. They're trying to hit their finishes too quickly. They're bumping into each other. As usual, Schamberg cannot hit a proper spear. There's a tornado DDT on the floor that just looks like a mess even more.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and also Mark Priest also tells us the rules again at one point, and I'm like, the fucking announcers just told us.
Well, you might not be able to hear him that well over the FWA house mic.
Well, yeah. I'll give him a break this time,
yeah.
But it was just a mess. This was all a mess.
Fast-paced mess was the Alex Shane way, particularly at this time.
Yeah.
So as Eddie kind of alluded to, they have an ugly fight around ringside, and then there's Thunder are going to put connects in inverted commas with a tornado DDT off the apron. He goes for a dive off the top, but Shane clobbers him in midair with a chair. Thunder backdrops Shane on the chair and then gets one of his own so they can do the Duel of the Fates chair duel. Ending in a spot where they simultaneously duck swings but crack each other with back swings when they've gone past. Guy suplexes Shane in the aisle, then they go back in to fuck something up to do with a shoulder block, and then double down off simultaneous clotheslines. Drew hits the ring and cracks Shane with a chair, sending him off the blade. He immediately rolls back in, though, to both facilitate and stop Dino using a chair. Then flip dives back out onto Guy, and Drew takes a step forward and sort of falls over to pretend he got hit too. Alex gets on the apron. Guy comes over to get him and has to be told to go and do the Thunderstrike Spear through the ropes. And to be fair, when he hits it, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Just as Priest is telling us it's the most devastating move in the FWA and replays roll in the corner, Alex gets back in the ring. And I counted, he started getting up a whole 5 seconds after taking the move.
He's John Cena-ing most of this offense here, because there's like so much that Guy hits him with that he's just like, nah, I'm gonna get back up fine in no time.
You know how mad he'd get if like somebody no-sold his checkup from the neck up or whatever other stupid moves he's got.
And then after this, it basically just turns into an MMA fight because Guy just keeps punching him like he's taking the form of Shamrock.
Yeah.
And the old school are just at ringside, both of them just consistently like holding out the chairs.
Yes. Yeah.
And then
there's another spear, and Shane is up at 9 this time. Thunder takes the chair that Drew offers through the ropes and hits a couple of odd shots because he's initially holding it the wrong way round, and then the last one is an unprotected one to Shane's head while he's on his knees. Guy goes and fetches a folding table from under the ring and stands it in a corner. You may remember this from their match in Portsmouth. As Priest is questioning why Alex's security team haven't made their presence felt, they do a double reversal and Andy Coyne gets speared out of the ring.
Oh, he looks like when he's rolling out, he looks like his back's been broken the way he's like kind of holding on and then leaving it, just slow body moves out. I'm like...
It's like pouring jelly down a drain, isn't it? The way he falls out of the ring. With the ref down, Shane, of course, hits the one-night stand and Thunder doesn't make it up before the crowd counts to 10. The ref comes back in as Thunder spears Shane through the table. From the mat, Alex has to signal Guy to come and distract the ref, then signal the ref to turn around so he can get up at 8 but be tripped by Drew and fall down again, and then lose when Coyne gets to 10. Thunder places the broken table on Alex Shane and poses on it the same way Alex did after their previous match. He flips off the crowd, but this heel turn is all for nothing as this is Schamberg's final FWA TV appearance. He does one more dark match and then he's through with the company.
Thank fuck for that.
Leave the memories alone and start playing in Eddie's head.
Oh, I feel like I'm about to get emotional here. He's awful though.
Mr. Generic in his grey undies.
Yeah.
Guy Thunder.
He's got nothing to him.
This lad couldn't more look like shit against an absolute...
He looks like and has less charisma than a crash test dummy. And I don't mean the guys from the early 90s. Like, he is...
He's had so many attempts at this and like trying to get him over because they had the storyline with was it maybe Scott Parker who had the one with the misses, and then they did that thing and then that went nowhere.
Yeah,
this heel turn didn't work because, to be fair, even though like the ending of this annoyed me so much because Alex is trying to get up and obviously he's telling Guy to come at him, and the ref to get in the way, and I'm just like, fuck me, guys, like, come on. Like, after everything, every move that he's taken, Alex Shane is technically losing this match because he's been tripped up
by an old man.
But yeah, Thunder was like, I feel bad that he's gone. Like, I mean, you know,
but like,
he'll move on to other things. But
what does he add to this company?
Nothing.
But he's Schamberg. Had a spear.
Hey, Eddie, I would say, like, near the end of this match, I was putting notes down like, this is like the Brett Steve Austin double turn. And I don't know if you noticed, lads, about Mark Priest's commentary where he mentions, I think where Alex Shane got cut open, he actually mentions on commentary of the makeup artist under the ring, which is the Tommy Boyd reference.
Yes, we should. So as we mentioned, like Alex was on a TalkSport wrestling show every Saturday night. Were hosted by Tommy Boyd, and Tommy would play the wind-up merchant. Alex would be defending wrestling against this idiot, essentially. Yeah. And one of Boyd's things was that the blood isn't real. There's either a makeup artist or a ketchup bottle under the ring, was what he would keep saying.
Yeah.
So that must have been quite recent, I guess, if they were going to make reference to that here. I thought the first half of this was definitely better than the second. But Alex has successfully turned babyface as the crowd were chanting for him throughout over Schamberg.
I think when he did the promo saying that he didn't care about the old school, new school thing, you could kind of tell that people were kind of warming up to...
They were already warming up to him before that, though.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that was just going to happen.
And he's now going to become like adrenaline in his soul. Now it's time to steal the show. And no one is going to hate him. He'll have like if he could have, I would have been certain Alex Shane would have got a neck tattoo of like the AS somewhere on him or something like that. And he'd be like, yeah.
Kieran, I've got to say, when you said Guy Thunder, this is, I think, his last appearance. I think, thank God, he's terrible.
Wildly
absolutely terrible.
Hey, don't forget, we also had to suffer through Leon Murphy, didn't we, on UWA Wrestling Rampage?
We did. As much as he tried with his Big E spear, shit.
He had to go back now. His home planet needed him.
Yes. Scott Parker does a rubbish echoey promo in a pink room that looks like it's falling down about facing Carino next week. And then I noticed the FWA outro music over the credits gets to the lyrics. Maybe you should stay with your mama. It's really bad.
Kieran, I'm glad you mentioned about the promo because he did look like some of where Dion Dublin goes around the houses on Homes Under the Hammer.
This was like a home that had been hit with a hammer. Episode 19 aired February the 25th, 2002. In the dimly lit changing rooms of Brockbourne Civic Hall, one Stephen Eugene Carino sits backwards on a chair like a cool English teacher from the 80s. He complains about the new school, says there's no such thing because as king of old school, he's destroyed everyone who's claimed to be new school and that solid gold is going down tonight. Match number 1, James Ty versus Jack Xavier. Rejoice, for this is the debut of the Jack Xavier, Our Saviour theme, which, if I've got it, is going to be our outro music. He would keep this until late 2004 when it got replaced with a more straight-up rock instrumental. Priest is talking over him, but you can still hear Adam South introduce him as Jack Xavier. Like he's French.
Kieran, the line here from Priest. Spunky, funky, chunky, and all the women want to be with Jack.
They do, yes. Apparently so. Priest calls Ty a wrestling robot, which is the most accurate description we've had of that man so far. They do some decent basics to start out with. I quite like Xavier's lolloping roll bumps for the arm drags he takes. They're good shoulder rolls. Ty then Eddie's not impressed.
There's a moment where I just thought, like in the opening bit of this match, that Jack Xavier looked concussed and he had no idea what was going on.
That may also be the case. Ty then just shoves him out the ring where Sloan beats him up while Ty takes the ref. They do a lot of rope running just for Jack to fling James outside and then catch both him and Sloan with a sliding drop kick. Xavier manages a suplex back inside, but Sloan grabs his foot. Sloan and Ty are always grabbing each other's opponent's feet. Like, why are they all gimme them tasty toes? What the fuck are they doing? So what happens? Yeah, there's a suplex. Sloan grabs the foot when he goes to the middle rope, allowing Ty enough time to recover and grab a small package for a 2 count. He hits a pretty sweet running lariat out of the corner and a not so hot standing shooting star that the crowd don't react to and Priest doesn't even acknowledge.
I thought he was going like for a moonsault and just like completely hit it like on a backsault and just making sure he didn't hit the guy.
No,
he's good at the German suplexes, but that just
he is
awful.
Yes, so he does the angle that guy locomotion German suplexes for several near falls as Coin isn't clued in and counts every one. Sloan distracts the ref for reasons that may have been edited out. Then Xavier gets a 2 count off his sky-high elbow drop thing that really needs a proper name. Xavier drops Ty in a corner and threatens to drop kick him in the nuts. Sloan grabs his foot again. He must just want a pair of new shoes, which distracts the ref and starts a chase around the ring, allowing a small Lita clone to hit the ring and do the damage that Xavier was threatening. We are told this is Cammy, who used to be one of Alex Shane's ladies. Yes, for one match. She rolls out. Jack rolls back in and hits the Styles Clash, which we're calling the Xaviator here, and you don't want to know how they spelt that, and gets the pin. I am wondering where he would have seen this move. Because as I say every episode, when this was taped, TNA didn't exist. So unless he's an NWA Wildside fan, he must have seen him use it as a Frankensteiner counter on the Final Thunder. Because I believe that's the only nationally televised Styles Clash before this match.
He's clearly a big fan of Air Styles or Air Paris or wherever it used to be. No,
Air Paris was the partner. The tag team was called Air Raid.
Yes.
I hear about this a lot because my Must See Matches co-host Mark Buckledy was a big fan of Air Raid.
I think that there's also a comment that the Mark Sloan monkey thing just kind of keeps baffling me at points. But there's a bit which I kind of buckled out laughing where Mark Priest goes, "It was a fake out, monkey boy, get down." I was like, fucking hell. I was like, it buckled me. It was like, it just buckled me completely. I was like, he's the king of the monkeys and they're doing all this stuff. They're like, all right.
That Sloan's a monkey would continue for years. So Cammy and Jack leave arm in arm, and I put, this was okay. Like, this was quite typical of the FWA undercard at the time, but they were going 1,000 miles an hour because this was the opener of the live show.
2.5 stars at best. To be honest, as Cammy would say, unbelievable, Jeff.
Not that one.
Is this a love story that we're getting? Is this going to be like the Matt Hardy Lita stuff, except Matt Hardy looks incredibly like Mikey Whipwreck?
Would you prefer this, or would you prefer the Schamberg, Scott Parker, Angel, complete lack of charisma triangle?
Don't even go there, because you know what my answer would be.
Our second match. We're up to the main event already. Steve Corino with Avalon, whoever that is, versus Scott Parker. No, I couldn't find anything out about her either. Go on.
He says it's her wife.
He calls her both Corino's wife and girlfriend. So she must predate Simply Luscious, who was his girlfriend for ages and his constant valet. And if you booked him, you had to book her too. That was the deal.
That's who I think. I was thinking who it was, but Avalon. The only time I've heard that is like a production company, Avalon, or maybe David Gray's old tune. Although that was Babylon.
No, there wasn't there a Roxy Music song called Avalon?
I also did think the name was Avon at some point, but then I must have misheard it.
Avon. You got to think the bloody theme tunes like ding dong, Avon calling.
Their entire gimmick is trying to sell you lipstick.
Sell you the magazine each week to the crowd.
So, Priest calls Corino a Yankee ass, and we get one whole lockup before we go to break. I'm noticing a pattern. Entrances, one spot, go to ad break. This happens a lot. We come back from the break, and the old schooler that Corino is channeling is Larry Zbyszko, because he is stalling like a motherfucker. He gets Parker in a corner and pummels him, and then they speed up into a spot where Parker fakes a twisting crossbody off the middle. Corino thinks he's outsmarting him and points to the head because that's where the brain is, but turns around into a flying dropkick. Parker gets tired of all the stalling, goes to collect Corino from outside, but gets cut off on his way back in, and Corino goes to work with basic punches and kicks before getting clotheslined in the ring and then over the top rope. Parker then clears the corner and the post with a hell of a tope into the aisle. It was a proper Undertaker dive. Now, I am gonna recount this line from commentary, for it was notable. Scott Parker careered into him like an out-of-control aeroplane taking him down.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
What happened 6 weeks before this show was taped?
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. They fight up onto the stage where Carino attacks with a shitty Poundland Halloween broom and what looked like a large German sausage that he got out of a bag on the stage. And then hurls Parker back off into the aisle. Avalon distracts the ref so Carino can ding Solid Gold in the head with her shoe that Priest completely misses, saying it's a closed fist to the face.
He does this again. He does this again coming up soon, and I get fucking angry at it.
Carino chokes him with his wrist tape, and then Avalon chokes him over the ropes. Parker comes back with a shoulder breaker and a standing moonsault, but Carino kicks out. Avalon trips Parker, allowing Carino to drop him with a cracking super kick, which Priest also calls a closed fist. Like, the shoe I could almost understand because, like, it's hand going towards head, but, like, this was very obviously a thumping great kick in the face.
I think this is also the bit where the editing on the standing moonsault is absolutely awful, because I think they edited it at some point and they cut off, and it was just so bad. The Mark Priest stuff, Mark Priest missing both of those is just so bad. Yeah. And I kept looking at this thinking, he looks like Colby, like Steve looks like Colby does now. It
is very weird to me that the little kid I saw running around at 1PW shows is now a grown man and a full professional wrestler in his own right. It's very, very weird. Carino loudly tells referee Tony Giles to get down low so he doesn't see him use the ropes to assist a sleeper. He also calls a member of the audience, that man in the purple shirt that Andy liked before, a word we do not use anymore, prompting a chant to break out using the same word. Priest starts talking about grandmas while Parker makes his comeback with some crap punches.
Did you notice here as well, Kieran, that Priest on commentary starts doing an impression of Scott Parker's gran?
Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah.
I think I've started tuning out a lot of him.
Couldn't understand a word, but he's like, hey, I'm Skip Baby. It's like, it sounds like a South Park character that he's attempting to impress.
Screw you guys, we're going home.
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
So, Parker escaped the old school expulsion, which was Carino's finisher at the time, and hits his golden arrow. But Dino Scarlo and Drew McDonald race, in inverted commas, down the aisle. Dino throws what looks like a full loo roll at the pin to interfere because neither of these old fucks are going to actually make it there before the 3 count. And we cut to black and go off air before we find out the actual result.
The cameras will keep rolling. And
this this was very WCW.
WCW,
yeah. How do we feel about the match?
Actually, pretty good. Like I've said, Steve Carino turning up is just like the stars are here now. So, yeah. The thing going off at the end, it's like makes you want to see next week, doesn't it? I think it's only at the start of this old school, new school storyline, but if it was like mid to late on in the storyline, I think some people would be a bit tired out from it. So, yeah, no, I didn't mind the ending like it was.
I was going to say, I don't like how, because we're doing these in 4s and the way the episodes have worked out, that we change venue every time we record a podcast. However, can you imagine if that had been the last thing we had seen and we had to wait another month before we talked about the finish of this match?
I just thought it'd be extremely funny if it was like Toy Story 2 Woody's Roundup and it just ended at that point and you're like, what happened next? What happened next? It's like, don't know, they ran out of money.
But who's going to rescue the varmints? The critters, not the varmints. Anyway. Episode 20, November the 10th, 2001, at High School Hell, back at Harrow High School, aired on March the 4th, 2002. We, of course, open with a recap of the last week's main event and all the post-match. So what happens is, Scott Parker wins by DQ when Scarlo and McDonald, attorneys at law, run in and give him a kicking. The babyfaces and Mark Sloan run out of the locker room and get battered too until conquering hero Alex Shane and his trusty sidekick Steelio Chair hit the ring. Carino takes a shot. Scarlo takes a shot. Drew is smart and just rolls out of the ring. So he's avoided a chair shot and a flip dive on this show. A show stealer chant cements Alex's face turn as he gets the mic, points out the massive swelling around his eye, and challenges Drew to a match.
Look at his eye. Sorry, he goes, look at my eye. And then he said, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. And then he wards people off the chair. But like when the jobbers came out to handle the old school, I was like, okay, maybe it'll just be Brandon Thomas and Ian De Silva because that's all we really need, and then Hayde Vanson and stuff like that. But then people like the new breed come out and stuff like that, and then I kind of think, really, they're about to be in a triple threat match against each other whenever that fucking is.
It's kind of so. It was one of the things that FWA liked doing a lot was blurring the lines between what's real and what's fake. And so having like opponents come out at the same time to like join in this brawl, like is that line blurring that they're trying to do. I did notice that Dino and Drew did all the work and Carino just hung around on the other side, and he punched one person off the apron. That was it. After our opening titles, we have our first match. Oh, you lads are going to love this. Brandon Thomas and Ian De Silva versus La Familia, Jorge and Alex Castano. Yes, he is back to being Jorge, or Jorge, as Priest calls him. He's no longer George, but I'm going to call him George.
My initial line when this got announced was "Sweet baby Jesus and the orphans."
It's 4 of the best the country has to offer, Andy.
He keeps saying "sweet baby Jesus" as well. Like,
yes,
he seems
does.
to really love the saying "sweet baby Jesus." Like he's watched some recent commentary.
He was trying to get the phrase "kick soup" over for a long time. He hit him with a portion of kick soup. The only time that worked is when Ty and Sloan did a super kick into a German suplex, and I'm like, call that kick soup.
Did you feel as well with this venue? I know we've seen it before, but the lighting in here was just terrible. It was terrible for vampires, weren't it?
This place was filled with smoke, and they've moved the hard cam to make the room look worse, because previously we talked about how much we liked it. It was above the entranceway. Well, they moved it to the stage opposite the entranceway, which was really fucking stupid, because when the ringside cameras show that side of the building, it's fucking packed. Like, there is no room to move in that building.
One of the things while the entrance was happening, like, I saw Andy Boy Simmons at ringside looking really unimpressed.
Yes.
And also Mark Priest loves calling the Colombians dirty cheats, which is just, again, you know.
Well, I'll have a word about that in a minute. Also, porthole camera is back, the one with the nice big black ring around it.
Yeah, bog roll holder.
Hey, maybe that was the bog roll that Dino threw at the pin last week. So Alex Castano nearly scorpions himself with a tope on Ian and George, his own partner, and then Brandon does a top rope flip dive that basically lands on top of everyone else's heads and compresses their necks down like they're turtles. Thomas and De Silva run wild for a bit as Priest says, "Those Castanos like to cheat. It's all those Colombians know." And then my eyes popped out when he calls them a racist slur that we will not be repeating. He has been something else over these episodes. Fucking hell. George puts a knee in Brandon's back as he's running the ropes, allowing Alex to hit a DDT and a kneeling powerbomb to take over for all of 10 seconds before Thomas comes back with a flying double clothesline. Priest reminds us about the ongoing New Breed 3-way divorce, saying they will have a 3-way match where the loser is ejected from the New Breed. Ian tags in, hits some loose clotheslines, and then fights George on the floor. Inside the ring, Alex does some flying stuff, getting in a 2 count on Thomas, who I must remind you has just tagged out. He hits a second moonsault, but is distracted by the returning Capo Khan.
Yay!
We thought he was done. We haven't seen him since he helped the Castanos win the tag titles from the New Breed on episode 5. Alex and Khan point fingers at each other. Brandon, still not legal, rolls up Alex for the pin as Ian almost wipes out a cameraman whipping George into the barrier on the floor. Khan enters the ring and shakes hands with Brandon Thomas. We cut to a big Jesus Lives sign and then to Ulf Herman overexposed in a near nuclear degree in a corridor somewhere. Match was crap, obviously.
Oh, Ian De Silva has like the worst hot fire tag I've ever seen in my life. He just looked like he was like, "Oh, I've been tagged. Oh, shit. Am I supposed to do this? Right, okay. Attack." And it was like, mate, be a bit hotter than that. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't care about this match. Capo Can's back. Everything's all,
One of my notes though was a much the contest than I thought it'd be. Which
Really?
is like excrement to shit.
I just don't think we've seen any proper good tag matches in this company.
We haven't.
No.
We haven't.
4 people just cannot come together and create ideas that make good tag matches so far from what we've seen.
I mean, everybody is like super young, massively influenced by like ECW stuff still at this point. American independent wrestling is about to get bigger. Like, they're trying to be the cool company. And like, it's not cool to care about the rules of a tag match, is it? Or the structure of a tag match. Just do stuff, do stuff, do stuff. Like, that's the important thing. So, in his corridor somewhere in Harrow High School, Ulf is wearing an FMW t-shirt, calling himself the biggest star ever, an ECW veteran, and claiming never to have heard of Doug Williams despite being booked for a shot at his title. He says next week he's going to rip Doug's heart out and eat it in front of all you English people. He's sick of something I didn't catch. So next week is a revenge. It's a big, big revenge because I'm back and I eat your heart out. So after this night, everyone will remember Herman the German.
Doug Williams, who is he? I do not know.
Pretty much.
I will say, having seen Ulf Herman at an wholesale bar in Doncaster, he's one frightening fella. About
big lad, isn't he?
At 60-odd-year-old nowadays.
Yeah.
Fuck me, he's still a frightening dude who you won't want to get on the wrong side of.
That FMW shirt is so sweet looking. I was like, "Yep, I'm
it's
all
so
for
simple
this."
and basic, isn't it? But it's, like, it's quite nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
He. I don't know if he ever wrestled for FMW.
I'm sure he would have at some point. Surely.
If it involved fire and chairs, fucking over there.
I don't know when he started doing the hardcore stuff though, because like I think in the Doug Williams match we're going to get to see him like wrestle. He only started doing the hardcore stuff when he teamed up with Alex Shane, and that was basically to disguise that he was a shit wrestler.
So he did FMW in. Did he do any FMW, or is it just he just bought a shirt and he's a mark? Which again, there's no problem with that, but just very much you're a mark. Maybe he fought like one of the FMW guys on an ECW show.
He was only in ECW in '98. We should. I tell you what, I am looking on Cage Match. He has no listings for Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling.
You mark wearing a shirt for a company that you didn't wrestle for.
And he would milk his few months in ECW. He would bill himself as an ECW star everywhere he went. And one of the highlights was him losing to Spike Dudley in about a minute.
I love the idea. One thing I do love about the promo is like you've never seen him before. If you're someone who's just watching the FWA product, I do enjoy him completely burying Doug Williams, who's a heel, but kind of giving him like the "Who is he? I have no idea who he is. I'm just facing him."
Yeah, I've forgotten Doug was a heel.
Yeah, so it's like a heel burying a heel. So we're gonna chant for Doug, and then when he goes on to talking about revenge, I may have missed this part, but I genuinely was wondering if he was trying to make an attempt at like making a World War II reference. I'm like, this is my revenge, big English man.
I wasn't sure about that either. I wasn't sure about that either. But yes, we've got that to look forward to.
The German.
We've got that to look forward to. And our final match. Mark Sloan, again, with James Ty, again, versus Johnny Storm. I
can't do it anymore. I just can't.
Are you going to start refusing to watch Mark Sloan matches?
Eddie, I know how you feel. I felt like Brenda from Bristol here. What, another one?
Like, we've had no FWA champion on any of these shows.
No.
We've had We've had matches that have been ended during the commercial break. We've had
matches that took place entirely during the commercial break.
Yeah. We've had Ian De Silva and the Castanos, and it's like, oh, would you not know what's going to wash this all down? Mark Sloan and Johnny Storm. And I was, as soon as I saw this was happening, I was like, can we please just do something other than Mark Sloan? I felt depressed. I was like, why?
We only have, I think, it's either 8 or 10 more episodes of Frontier Wrestling, and then the pace picks up a bit. You'll still have to watch Mark Sloan, but you'll get some new people. You'll get some other people.
Just James. Anytime I see him and James Ty, I'm like, oh, just fuck off already, my dude. Why? I felt like I've seen you guys already about a minute ago.
I noticed because you don't have Steve Linsky to get mad about this time around.
Where the fuck is he?
You're getting mad about Mark Sloan instead.
And by the way, I may have said this on one of the first podcasts I made before. I've worked with Mark Sloan. Mm-hmm. He is a nice person. I have no issue. But the fucking matches are shit. The formula, know what's happening. You know, Ty's going to probably want some feet at the moment and go, right, I need to tug on to that. And it's just, like, it's pushing someone who is boring. I'm sorry, but boring.
2001 Mark Sloan is not the one. This is the debut of Johnny Storm's 5 knockoff theme that you can just about hear in the background. Yeah. So Ralph's getting creative with the entrance music. I don't think we will ever get to hear one of his greatest creations, which was the theme for Chris Justice, which knocked off MC Hammer. I will let you imagine it in your heads.
Chris Justice.
Exactly that.
Chris Justice.
Do you want to know the best thing about Chris Justice?
Yeah.
That song. Sloan tries to interrupt. Sloan tries to interrupt Storm's entrance with a clothesline, but Storm ducks, hits a crossbody, and continues posing on all 4 corners as his music carries on playing. They do a spot with Storm outmaneuvering Sloan and rolling outside to high-five the fans. Sloan then does the same thing but worse and slower, and he and Ty get flattened by a top rope flip dive, and we go to the break. We have a new referee, even more useless than the usual crew, and he looks on with a blank expression as Ty full Nelson Storm from the apron while Sloan lays in some kicks. Storm dodges a spinning kick though, Ty gets a faceful. They trade arm work. Sloan tries some fancy escapes using the ropes, but Johnny plants him with the move I know as the fuckbuster before leaping off the top into a super kick. Andy's Andy needs to watch...
What? A fuckbuster?
The fuckbuster, yeah. AJ Styles does it as well. It's the wheelbarrow face plant.
Did anyone notice that Johnny was wearing his WWE Camp Show X-Pac gear?
Oh, was he?
Like, you know, when you do those like fake WWE shows and stuff, fake Undertaker. It looked like he was cosplaying his fake X-Pac with a green. I was like, oh, fucking hell. And there was a guy. Did you see the guy up at the top beside the FWA letters?
Yeah, I think there was like a photographer up there, maybe. But that's where they should have the hard cam.
I thought that was Sting. I thought that was their version of Sting they were going to get.
I have to get this out. SX pack. It looks better when you write it down, I guess. Sloan went on offense long enough for me to eat my dinner, and then just as I finished, Johnny got a hope spot with a drop kick but ran into a stun gun. The All England title is our equivalent of a youth belt, except there's no age limit. We've got youngsters of all ages in the FWA, including Drew McDonald, who's about 100. Sloan crotches Storm on the guardrail as Priest says, this number 1 contenders match can't end on a DQ or a count out. The referee has to be fairly lax or these two will be back here again next week doing it again. Why? If someone gets DQ'd or counted out, they have lost. It's not rocket science. They go over the rail and brawl through the crowd. The woman operating the hard cam has to shuffle the tripod back out of their way as they fight across the stage.
There were 2 of them, and they were like trying to hold the camera. Yeah. And someone offers Sloan a banana at this point, and Mark said, like he's insane.
Priest claims it's so packed some people couldn't even get in and are listening to him outside commentating. Poor bastards. Anyway, none of this leads to anything. It's just to kill time, and they just get back in the ring. Storm goes for the super rewind, but noted foot fetishist James Ty holds his foot so Sloan can hit a sunset flip powerbomb. The referee makes a gormless 2 count and Priest buries him, calling him Smiley O'Hare. Apparently that's not his real name. Johnny comes back with a wheelbarrow DDT for his own weak 2 count. He decks Ty off the apron, but turns around into Sloan's Angel's Wings, which I refuse to call the Special Slam, and Sloan scores the pin while Ty again holds down Storm's foot.
What's it called? The Special Slam?
The Special Slam.
I thought it was the Specky Slam.
Yeah.
Like he had a fetish with glasses.
It would be spelt like that, yes, but not pronounced like that, because he is the specialist, not the speculist. The speculist is something you get from Specsavers.
I mean, I'm not going to get too offended by that. Just saying. I thought I was like when I heard the guy Specky Slam, I was like, neither of them wearing fucking glasses. What's this about? And then it was Specialist Slam. I was like, even then, fuck off.
I am largely with Eddie here. This felt like it went on for a fucking week. Even better, Mark Sloan is now the #1 contender for the All England title and will be having a match against Paul Travell for it very soon.
Oh.
No.
I think I'm going to be recording the next episode all by myself. Priest plugs the Dog versus Ulf match for next week and then signs off as he's interrupted by Breed TV. Curve looks sad. His heart isn't in it. He talks about Paul, Ash, and Darren Cruz. He basically says he's had enough of being the butt of all the jokes. Ash arrives, clutching a very obvious copy of Power Slam, the cover of which will be the only time The Rock appears on this show. I think he might be holding this because Shane, Storm, and Williams made it into the 2001 PS50. And I will remind you that Capo Khan is played by Mo Chatra, who writes for Power Slam.
Oh, is it like PWI where they have to pay to get in?
I don't know. There were also some FWA guys in the PWI 500 of 2001, but some absolute fucking shit has made that list before. So Duke Drosy, before he was Duke Drosy, made that list. A doink knockoff called Dinky the Wrestling Clown once made that list. It's not prestigious, is it? So Phil takes his Power Slam off Paul as Paul mocks him for the lack of effort he's put into the Breed TV setup. Phil Curve says if he's so concerned about quality, why doesn't he just do it all himself, and storms off. Paul says set your VCRs as this might be the last ever Breed TV, as next week it's the 3-way, and he's so disheartened he doesn't even care what happens. And that is the last thing we see for this episode.
I thought you were about to say that was the last thing we see of Breed, and we just never find out what happened to the fucking trip over it.
We have more of them to come. Eddie, how you feeling?
I'm very down on this company after these after this podcast. There's just, I don't know. I just didn't like a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
There were some bits I enjoyed. I loved Ulf Herman for a short appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Capo Can being grabbed back, fantastic. Nothing was great about any of this, though. Steve Carino, okay, I'm glad you're here to kind of, be good, and Alex Shane. I was excited about the Last Man Standing match, and then it felt like they went it fast forward 46 times. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm going to carry on watching it. There is stuff I am entertained in. I want to know who wins the battle of the free men in the new breed, who gets the rights to the wrestling ring and the posters.
There is one detail I missed out of Ash's promo where he says there may only be room in the new breed for one member. I was like, well, that's not a team then, is it?
But yeah, again, just certain bits of this, it was Mark Sloan. Just too much.
Yes.
It's if this was booked on TW, you would get a warning 5 times telling you have used too much Mark Sloan and James Teague.
Aye.
This will affect your viewers. But yeah, like there was some good stuff. There was some decent stuff. I mean, I can't wait to watch next week. The next episodes. Maybe I'll be less disheveled, but then probably the first match I'll see on the next taping will be Mark Sloan, and then I'll just everything will just seep out of my body, and I'll be like, "Here we go again." But I am very excited for Doug Williams against Ulf Herman because I want to see Ulf.
Andy, how about you?
I think similar to Eddie on this one. I think Steve Carino coming in, excellent stuff, and Alex Shane being Stone Cold Steve Austin. Can't beat that. I still want to see, the old school, new school feud goes, but yeah, just too much Johnny Storm, Mark Sloan, and James Ty again for me. Just they're just middling to and out. But not Johnny Storm. He's all right. We've said when he's with Doug and Jody, but when he's with anyone else, it's just I'm not asked. Ian De Silva on these 4 shows. Hell!
Like
you know what? He pushed his luck last time in one of the most shocking angles going in WA, which it was great to watch. But mate, that was all Dino Scarlo, not you. Get away from my telly.
I expected Ian De Silva to be a guy who should never ever win a match on television.
He's probably 28 as well, and he looks about 68. He looks like an absolute bag of shite, doesn't he?
That's why there's no age range in the All England youth belt.
It's not about age limits; it's about no limits.
But it's just like him and Thomas have just like. Do you know who I would rather see more than them? And I think Andy might agree with me. Justin Richards and Raja Ghosh. I would like to see more of them than I would of Ian De Silva and Brandon Thomas, because both of them are shit. Let's not be nice about it. They are shit. Ian De Silva, so bad, and Brandon Thomas is just cosplay shit.
To be honest, Eddie, I wanted to see more Flash Barker on this show because, whenever he's on, he's always really good.
But they've not explained what the situation is, why where was he?
The men in black coats have gone. Where are they?
Yeah.
They did accompany Alex out, but they didn't do anything.
And Flash wasn't one of them, I think.
I don't know. He was at the show because he had the match with Justin Richards on the same show.
Yeah, but it's like, that's another thing. Like, are we, is this part of the story? And is it going to be like Flash Barker's going to maybe turn on Alex Shane? But then, like, you need to kind of give us someone to realize, hold on, why is he not here? Like, what is going on? There's just too many characters who I just don't like or don't rate at all in this who are getting more screen time than they should have.
Yeah. I hate to be Wade Barrett, but I've got some bad news. I know you liked Steve Carino showing up. That's it for the next 3 years.
Oh, no!
Steve Carino does not return to the FWA until March 2004.
Right, hold on. So let me just be very clear about this, because that's just fucking annoyed me even more. So the new school has a shit ton of people. The old school have had a potential third member, but he's fucked off in Guy Thunder. Another one who's the king of old school, who's not going to be there for 3 years. Where are we going here?
We will find out. I did like that the old school, new school thing has some heat behind it now. Like the new school has a defined leader in Alex Shane. Unfortunately, it is Alex Shane. But you're right about all the stuff that's going on underneath all this. It is too much Mark Sloan. It is too much Jack Xavier is not quite ready yet. It is way too much Brandon Thomas and Ian De Silva. I don't know. Maybe we'll get something better and more interesting next time around.
But Kieran, I think we've all to agree Guy Thunder's gone. That's a good thing.
I guess. Yes, he has, in fact, gone.
Bye, Shamford.
Goodbye, Schamberg.
Thanks for the memories.
In the arms of an angel. And then you just play that song. And then we have like the picture of this podcast, of this episode, is Schamberg in grey and white.
Is it that gif where Homer looks up at the sky and it's just Schamberg there?
I would love it if we just edited like people who do spears and then they look up to the spur of the cloud. How am I doing, boss? And it's Schamberg just like with arms crossed going like the Nikki Bella Mizawa one where it's like very good.
Oh boy. Right, I think we should wrap this up and take it home. Thank you, gentlemen. This has been tremendous fun as always. Eddie, tell people where you can be found on the internet if you want to be found and all that good stuff.
You can find me on X or Twitter at Eddie Sideburns, underneath the title 5-Star Wrestling Sideburns. In the year 2067, we will finally be releasing our 894 man tournament that will take place all across the world. Follow me at Eddie Sideburns. Thank you.
Eddie, you've pushed it back 25 years, that tournament.
Listen, there's delays ongoing at the moment with the way the economy's running and the way I'm looking at it. It might be easier to do it in that year. But, you know, again, plans can change. You know, Alex Shane, I'm calling you.
Oh,
you can get the gear and get ready.
He's got a lot of people to book for that tournament.
Yeah.
Andy, give us the Graps and Claps rundown.
Yes, you can follow us at GCP Podcast 1 on Twitter. Follow myself at Oggy Part 3. Recently, we've done the first episode of Muck, which was a change from our scheduled episode, which turned into The Rock versus John Cena once in a lifetime, twice in a month for Sundays.
Yes.
With Matty Edwards, which, you know what, because it's quite relevant to the time where The Rock's returned to WWE now. And no, very, very good look back on that era, and also talking about Flo Rida and Pitbull's greatest songs. You can also hear our live show reviews from Revolution Pro and other stuff. And coming up, Mr. Sideburns may be making an appearance as we go and see Europe's #1 wrestling weekender in Preston, as we go and see PCW Roll to Glory.
Awesome.
I love how you wear that with a straight face saying that it was, because it is. And I'll say it so I'm not going to laugh. Europe's premier tournament and weekend, PCW Road to Glory. But yeah, I will be making the trip down, so I can't wait to see you.
Tremendous stuff. If you want to find me personally, I am at Kieran Edits. I also have another show, which is not Nothing Can Like It. This one. My other one is Must See Matches. That is a weekly show I do with Mark Buckledy as we count down the 104 must see matches as nominated by the general public. Our latest episode is that TNA 3-way, Samoa Joe versus Christopher Daniels versus AJ Styles from Unbreakable 2005. And we had the host of You've Got to Be Kidding Me, Garrett Kidney, come and talk about that with us. A fine show indeed. This show, you can go to linktr.ee/FWApod for all the way subscribe and all that kind of business. We are at FWApod on Twitter and Blue Sky, and on Instagram at FWA.pod. We'll be back in a bit with the next 4 episodes of Frontier Wrestling, and there's 2 things you can do about it.
Can't save you, I'll save you.